proverb that it's easy to ignore as it gets older, but I believe it's something we really do need to keep in mind. And it says that you can't judge a book by its cover, or you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. To modernize that, you shouldn't judge a video by its thumbnail or a movie by its poster, which in this day and age is very good advice because most movie posters are to shit. I remember that right before the world shut down. Do we have to come up with a new abbreviation for that? Is that the new BC? Like before COVID? Is that like our new thing? But anyway, before COVID, one of the movies I went to see in 2020 was a Will Ferrell film called Downhill with him and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I ended up hating it. Surprise, surprise. I'm not a Will Ferrell fan. And somebody commented, why did you go see this if you know you're going to hate it? If you know you don't like Will Ferrell, then why did you go see it? Because you're automatically biased. And the answer to that is because you cannot deprive something of the opportunity to surprise you. To put that in, again, examples from this show, Mr. I don't review horror movies, if I had stuck to that and had not given one the opportunity to surprise me, I would have missed out on one of the most remarkable films I've seen in a long time and my number one movie of the year. And I give you this little introduction because it brings us back to this film, our subject for today, because this is a movie that on paper seems tailor-made to piss me off. Seems tailor-made to just get a harsh review right up its backside. And I was ready. I was geared up. I was ready to rip this thing apart, and I'm sitting there. And for the first maybe 10, 15 minutes, I'm like, yeah, here we go. Oh, now it's going to get stupid. Oh, look how stupid this is. Oh, this is so stupid. Rah, 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 rah. And I'm thinking up insults like a rabid dog. And then something happened, and I suddenly went, you know what? I don't hate this. More than that, you know what? This is actually not bad. And finally morphing into, you know what? This is actually kind of good. And it's inexplicable. It is a perfect example of a film being more than the sum of its parts, because the sum of its parts are not there to impress me. And yet, here we are. Here we are, and I have to come to you and say, this movie surprised me, and I actually enjoyed it. So let's talk a little bit about this. So let's talk about the factors that were in this film's, that were working against this film from the get-go. What made me think that this was going to be a bloodbath in terms of the review? First and foremost, its stars are two people I have never been a fan of. I have never liked Jennifer Lopez as an actor, and Owen Wilson, sorry, Owen, I'm sure you're a nice guy in real life, but I've got socks that act better than you, and I'm just like, putting those two together, I was just like, oh my God, this is going to be the worst pairing in history. The setup was one of those high concept romantic comedies that felt like it would work in an 80s movie because we were a lot more forgiving because cocaine was a hell of a drug. And these days just seem so implausible that you're like, come on, really? So if you don't remember this film, because it was in and out of theaters fairly quickly, even though they hyped it very, very strong. So Jennifer Lopez plays essentially Jennifer Lopez. I mean, let's just be honest here. She plays Jennifer Lopez. She plays a pop star who is getting ready to get married to another pop star in this huge publicity stunt, live concert wedding. Owen Wilson plays your average, doofy, math teacher, single father, nice guy, who is tricked into going, not so much tricked into going to the concert, but he goes to the concert with his friend and his daughter in an attempt to try to get his teenage daughter to like him. And his friend, played by Sarah Silverman, like, hands him this sign that says "Marry Me" that she had brought to the concert because she's in love with Jennifer Lopez. And right before the ceremony is supposed to happen, an Instagram thing drops where they see Jennifer Lopez's future husband cheating on her with her assistant, and she goes on stage and just basically has a meltdown and sees Owen Wilson with this sign in the audience that says "Marry Me," and she says, "Why not? Come on up here and I'll marry you." And Owen Wilson does, and now it's the thing of ho ho ho, it's a publicity stunt, but is it real? Oh ho ho. And again, that just sounds fucking ridiculous. Like, why did you marry this person? You know, it's kind of like the trailers try to sell it like it's that Jumbotron logic, you know, people proposing on a Jumbotron and people feeling obligated to say yes because they've got millions of people watching them, and that's kind of how they pass it off. And you're like, oh, come on. If you didn't want to do this, you didn't have to do this. So the plot and the setup just seem too hokey and unbelievable, and, you know, you're just like, okay, whatever. Basically, the only thing that brought me into the building on this was, once again, just like in Moonfall not too long ago, the presence of John Bradley. Samwell Tarly, the greatest Game of Thrones character, and I will fight people on that. When I saw that he was in it, I was like, and there was this part of me at the beginning going, oh, why wasn't John Bradley the main character? You know, and I understood why, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But, you know, first of all, two things I got to talk about before I move into the movie about John Bradley, about my boy Samwell Tarly. First of all, John, buddy, you're looking good. Like, he's dropped weight, and he's dropped a lot of it. He's looking good. And as a fellow big man who, you know, struggles with weight loss, brother, I got to give you big old props, man. You are looking great. So whatever you're doing, my friend, you know, big ups, man. Big ups. Congratulations. You're looking fantastic. So, bully, buddy. And secondly, this is off topic, but I do want to cover it here. And that is, can we get John Bradley into a starring role, please? Can we get him, especially in a romantic comedy? Now, I will retract my original statement, the original argument I was going to make that he should have been playing, that he and Owen Wilson should have switched spots here. I don't believe that anymore. But I do believe that John Bradley is tailor-made to be a romantic comedy leading man. I really believe that. He just has this aura. You know, there's something about this movie where they know how to cast people in roles that suit them. You know, John Bradley is the sensitive, loving, you know, kind business manager. He's basically Samwell Tarly in a modern setting. You know, and that was essentially kind of who he played in Moonfall, too. He plays these characters really well because he just has this aura of a good, sweet, nice guy. I hope that's true in real life. I hope he really is that nice in real life. Everything I've seen seems to say that he is. Again, sorry about the glare. I'm trying to block it out, and this red light is taking way longer than it usually does to get out of everyone's eyes, so I apologize. But anyway, part of the problem with doing these things on a sunny day. But anyway, can we get him into a leading role? He's always playing someone else's wingman, and true, he's good at it, but I do believe, there we go, that's much better. I do think it's time that he is given the spotlight and he is allowed to show his chops. I think he could carry one. You give him a good comedy like this one, and I think he could pull it off. So that's just a pitch I want to throw at John Bradley. And I think we need to do that. You know, he could totally carry one. But back to this movie. So, again, a lot of factors working against it. And yet, all these factors work. Let's talk about our stars first. First of all, as I've said, I am not a fan of either one of these people as actors. I don't know them as people, so I don't I can't really judge them as human beings, nor is that my job. But as actors, I've never been impressed by either one of them. And yet, I'm not going to say either one of them is putting on an Oscar-worthy performance here, but I am going to say that they are incredibly well cast. Jennifer Lopez is playing Jennifer Lopez, and that is kind of the thing in this movie, is that you can tell that, she produced this, and you can tell there is just a lot of her internal frustration with show business, with superstardom, because Jennifer Lopez isn't just a music star or a musician. She's a superstar. She's one of those, lot of glitz, lot of glamour, lot of polish kind of stars. It's kind of like, the way I associate it is kind of like you've got wrestlers and then you've got WWE superstars. One is down and gritty and does some great work in the ring, but doesn't pop. The other one has all pop in all circumstance, but in the ring, is so-so. And she's always kind of been in that second category, pop star-wise. And this is definitely her showing off her frustration with that world. And a lot of the things that she says in here, you can tell that is her saying it. Just being tired of always having to stretch herself so thin, of always having to be on for everybody, of, constantly feeling like you're putting yourself out there and you're getting smacked down. So there's a lot of truth to this, and it's not as flaccid and insincere as a lot of, show business isn't all it's cracked up to be turns that movies do. It doesn't seem as hollow like a kids show telling you to turn off the TV and go read. That kind of, that insincere, I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is, but it's a very insincere feeling. I don't feel that here. Owen Wilson also, again, not an Oscar-worthy performance, but I gotta say, he brings his, hangdog expressions, and, he got famous in the 90s with Ben Stiller as kind of that guy that frat boys want to go and have a beer with, and he's taken that everyman kind of appeal to him, and he really puts it to work here. What I like about the Owen Wilson character is that he is unquestionably a nice guy. Now, Becca and I were talking about this not long ago. In fact, I want to do a podcast with her about this because I think this is a great topic for discussion. And that is the problematic nature of the nice guy trope in movies and TV. Because often the character who is pushed forward as a nice guy, is really a scumbag who's using that nice guy label as an excuse for all of his bad behavior. Your Ted Mosby's, your Ross's on Friends, and to a certain extent your Dawson Leary's. So saying that a character is a nice guy is kind of it's a dangerous label. But the Owen Wilson character in this is genuinely a nice person. He is a good person. And again, one of the things that I had a problem with the trailer was trying to figure out, okay, how do you justify that he did this? Was it just, Jumbotron pressure or what? And truth be told, the reason he did this is because he got up there, he saw she was having a meltdown, and his nice guy tendency was he wanted to help her and wanted to do something to help her. And in that moment, that's all he could think of to do. And that sounds like a hokey explanation, but he makes it work. And he is never at any time a jerk or never at any time overly selfish, at least not in a way that you wouldn't understand. And these two, I'm not going to say they have chemistry, but they work well together. Their scenes feel legit, They actually sound like they're having conversations with each other and not just, staged, cutesy, overwritten dialogue. It feels grounded and real. And I don't know if that's just because neither one of them is a very good actor, so therefore they're not trying to push a character forward. They're just being themselves, and therefore You get the feeling of two people having a real conversation, or maybe they're much better actors than I ever gave either one of them credit for. It's a toss-up. But the fact remains that the scenes they share together, which is the majority of the film, work, and they work very well together. Owen Wilson is not overly snarky and overly sarcastic, which is everyone's default for, comedy these days. Just be overly dismissive and better than it all, and I think that's another thing this film does very well, is it avoids, for the most part, the classic romantic comedy tropes. Obviously, with the opposites attracting, you've got a glamorous pop star living in a social media world and a constant press coverage world, always on camera, always doing something. There's always someone in her face. So she's living kind of a plastic life. And then you've got a down-to-earth, single father math teacher, leading an everyday life. So, of course, there's your opposites attract kind of thing. But what I like about this, and what would have been so easy for them to fall into the trap on, is that at no time does either one belittle the other's world. Owen Wilson plays essentially a me character, someone who is, his cell phone is still a flip phone. He's not on any social media platforms. He finds the whole thing confusing and uncomfortable. But he never talks down to her because that's her world. He acknowledges that it's not something that makes him comfortable, but that doesn't make it wrong. Pardon me for a second. There we go. He never comes at her like, you need to stop this, you need to live a real life kind of thing. He accepts that that's her world, and he's trying to help out in it. Likewise, she doesn't belittle his world. Other people around her do. Her other assistant, Michelle Buteau, who was also seen when Rebecca and I watched Always Be My Maybe, playing another personal assistant here, she belittles him and his world. But Jennifer Lopez never does. Like, she likes his world and likes the grounded, stable feel of it. And this really is a movie about the two of them sharing a world and making a world. And that's, I think, a nice metaphor for relationships in general. Because that's what any relationship is. It's a blending of two worlds. It's not saying your world is wrong and this other world is right. It's saying you got to take the two worlds and make them one. So there's got to be aspects from one and aspects from the other. And you can't just shut out the other person's, what's important to them. And neither character does that. That's what Beck and I do. At least I try. I try never to belittle her world, and she never belittles mine. So, it's... They do a bit in the center of the film, around Act 2, when the two of them are they start actually dating. And they do kind of a fun challenge where I think they could have expanded on this more, where he challenges her to go a whole week or something like that without social media and without, always being on camera, without doing vlogs and things like that. And she challenges him to do the opposite, to, if I'm going to do this and live a normal life, then you have to get on social media. You got to do TikToks. You got to do all of this. And I think that's done like half right. They show him kind of getting into social media and doing websites for his math club and all of this, and he really sees the benefit of it. With her, when they did it with her, then they kind of fell back on tropes where, it's to a point where she's so pampered, she doesn't know how to do anything. She doesn't know how to, she doesn't know that she put a lid on a blender. Things, she doesn't know how to unlock her front door. It's like, okay, come on. She's not an idiot. She would know how to unlock her front door. Please. But it's a cute moment, and I like that it never belittles either one of their worlds. I think back to that film 27 Dresses. Remember when they were trying to convince us that Katherine Heigl was a thing? And James Marsden in that movie was a complete and total asshole who completely belittled Katherine Heigl's entire world. And yet she ends up falling in love with him. Yes, love the person who basically tells you the life you've led is shit. You know, and ridiculous and stupid. And I like they don't do that here. And it would have been very easy for them to fall back into that trap. But yeah. So a lot of this movie really works. Do parts of it not work? Yeah, there are things that don't work very well. The all is lost moment.
The all is lost moment.
Feels a little tacked on and doesn't feel legit given the information that we have been given up to this point. It feels very like, okay, we're in the third act and now we have to introduce the complications so these two can get back together. So there's some kind of dramatic shift. And you know that has to happen in a movie like this because it's just, you know, it's a movie like this. You know, there's a certain formula. And it didn't feel natural to me. It felt very tacked on. Here we go. Basically what it is, your cheating boyfriend comes back because the song they recorded hit #1, and they're going to perform at the Grammys, which is a big thing for Jennifer Lopez because she's never been nominated for a Grammy before, which I find complete bullshit because the Grammy, if she was as big a pop star as this movie is making her character out to be, she would have had Grammys. I'm sorry, folks. The Grammys are, and really all award shows are, they are there for album sales. So if you're selling, you're winning. All right? So she would have had Grammys. But at any rate, you know, so she goes back to perform with him because this is important to her. And it makes Owen Wilson jealous. And it starts this whole thing, I don't belong in your world. Blah, 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 blah. But, so I feel like that is very kind of lazy and a little tacked on. I also gotta say that in terms of supporting cast, this movie has some good actors, but man, the other characters in this are kind of terrible. All except John Bradley. John Bradley is a good, sweet manager. You keep expecting him to suddenly like turn out to be a con artist, or like he's using one against the other. He never does. He's always there working for the benefit of both of them. But every other character, Sarah Silverman plays Owen Wilson's best friend, who basically bought the concerts for her and her girlfriend, the tickets for her and her girlfriend to go to, and then her girlfriend dumped her. And so she's there on a revenge thing. And like the minute this whole thing happens to Owen Wilson, she becomes such a star fucker. Just pushing him into everything so that, you know, she can be closer to Jennifer Lopez. Even when we have the all is lost moment.
The all is lost moment.
And Jennifer Lopez is on stage performing with her ex, and Sarah Silverman's there like, oh, this is so magical. This is so good. It's like, you see that your fucking friend is heartbroken there, right? You know, what a fucking terrible friend. I also gotta say, and I want to stress this, I'm talking about the character, not the actor. Not the actor. You know, qualifying here. The girl playing, you know, his daughter, Owen Wilson's daughter, is terrible. Is a terrible person. Again, not the actor. I'm not bad-mouthing the actor, who does a very good job. Has some really good scenes. The scene at the end at the Math Olympics with her and her dad is really well done. But the character reminds me a lot of Charlie from the Santa Claus, Tim Allen's son, who's like this reprehensible little toad of a kid until his dad becomes Santa Claus and then has some kind of clout, and then all of a sudden he likes his dad. And that's what this one feels like. She can't stand to be around her father, but once he marries this superstar, then it's, you know, and even then she still treats him with, you know, there's this scene like after the all is lost moment.
The all is lost moment.
Where he's sitting out on the porch and she sits down next to him and says, are you afraid that she's going to leave you for, you know, for this other guy? He says, yeah. She said, well, I would be afraid of that too. It's like, you know, maybe this would be a good time to say, hey, Dad, you know, you're a really great guy, and, she'll see that. It's like, no, it's like, you should be worried. It's like, fuck, bitch. Maybe I'm misreading it, but it's like, I'm like, wow. And again, stressing the character, not the actor. I am not insulting the child actor here, who does a very good job with the material she is given. Want to preference that. Not talking about the actor, talking about the writing and directing of the character. So don't hate at me, all right? I'm not hating on the kid, I'm hating on the character. Big difference. So yeah. It also feels, I'm sorry, this thing keeps slipping today. It also feels that, really quick, like this is just a little over long, like it didn't need to be as long as it did. But going back to the positives on this, one of the things I really dig about this movie is that it actually took the time to show the two of them becoming friends and getting to know each other and falling for each other in a natural way. This wasn't we met and suddenly we're in love. It's okay, we're in this situation, let's get to know each other, let's do things, and you see them becoming friends and enjoying each other's company, and it has a nice natural progression. It feels real. And I appreciate that. I appreciate a lot about this movie, and again, goes to show you can't judge a film by its trailer. So, there you have it. I think I've talked around in circles enough on this one, but I do need to give it its props and do need to give it its praises. So let's wrap this up. So final grade for Marry Me, I am going to go a solid B+. Solid B+ on this one. In the worlds of romantic comedies, it is certainly not When Harry Met Sally, but it's also not 27 Dresses. So it finds a good middle ground. It's a decent enough movie. It avoids a lot of the tropes. The performances are good, and just goes to show that sometimes a thing can be more than the sum of its parts. So I say this is a good one. It deserves a look. When Valentine's Day rolls around or you're looking for a date night, throw it on, and I think it'll be okay. So there you have it. So that's my review for Marry Me. All right. So thank you very much for coming along with me. Thanks a lot for listening to me talk a long time about this movie. I didn't think I was going to go this long. And thanks for joining me. So adios, and as always, drive safe, and I will see you at the movies.